What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So there were a lot of questions when Nintendo announced that they were raising the price of the original Switch, and the Switch OLED, and the Switch Lite, just about everything from last generation. Well, now some are wondering if retailers are pushing back against those price increases with their own discounts. There's some strange stuff happening there, but we'll go over all of that here today. Also, we are going to be talking about Battlefield 6 that concluded its first big open beta weekend, and now some are wondering if Call of Duty could actually be in trouble, and the Dreamcast might be getting in on the Mario 40th anniversary with a recent port that absolutely blew up online. All of that and more. Guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure you hit that like button. Helps out a ton. And if you're new here to the Spawn Wave channel, make sure you subscribe down below. And of course, members for the channel do get Newswave early. If you would like to learn more about that, click the join button or link in the description down below. And we're going to start today with an update around the PlayStation 3 because the store just was not working at all, the online PlayStation Network store on that system. And many were wondering, is this it? Did Sony cut off the PlayStation 3 without telling anyone or making a formal announcement, maybe hoping that people just wouldn't notice? Well, no, it looks like it was maybe maintenance, or to be honest, it's just something went wrong and it's not exactly high priority for them to rush out and fix the PS3, because now many places, like for example, you can see this is over on Push Square, they're confirming that the PlayStation 3 for them on their end in Europe is working. I also many people on places like Twitter X and Facebook and others saying that is also working in different parts of the world. So it just appears the PS3 is back up and running. For people who want to browse the store and pick up some of those PS1 classics that are kind of hidden on the store, you can search for them and find them, but I still think, the PS3's days are clearly numbered. However, I think Sony will at least make a formal announcement before completely shutting it down. Not really doing what they did here, which honestly is just, I think, a maintenance issue, and they weren't exactly rushing out to get to fix it. Also, we have some big news for the world of dial-up internet. As you can see, this is over on Tom's Hardware saying AOL will end dial-up internet service in September, 34 years after its debut. Also, AOL Shield browser and the AOL dialer software, which is connected directly to the dial-up stuff, that'll be shuttered on the same day. So depending on how old you are, you have one of two reactions. One being, if you're old enough, people are still using dial-up. The other one being, if you're too young, what's dial-up? Which, hey, look, you both still have something in common here, all right? Because you found out about this news before the people that it actually affects, those on dial-up, as, well, the page will probably load by next week for them there. But either way, this is still related to gaming, because that's just, back in the day, you dial in for your 56K modem, or if you were unfortunate, 28K modem, and you would do your best to play online. Even the Dreamcast, though, took advantage of it, and at times, with things like Phantasy Star, ran really well. But, just AOL, for a lot of us, it may have been those CDs you got at the grocery store, went home and dropped it into your system so you could dial into the internet, and yeah, mostly just wait a while for things to load. But there you go, AOL dial-up finally coming to an end in September. Oh, and now shifting over to more just speed in general, it appears Ninja Gaiden 4, with some of the previews, we have at least an idea as to performance and, I guess you'd call it quality mode, which starts at 60 FPS. This we can see over on Windows Central, where they say the game has a 120 FPS high frame rate mode, allowing the Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5 players to exchange additional visual fidelity for a faster, more reactive gameplay experience. The Xbox Series S is just locked to 60 FPS, which, oh no, stuck at 60. But I do like the idea of a game that is as fast and reaction-based and action-based as Ninja Gaiden 4 to have 120 FPS. It's nice to see that just be leveraged, and if you're willing to give up some of the visual fidelity to have faster response time and stuff, and just an overall even more fluid image as things are just going crazy on screen, it's cool that you can have that. Still, you can compare the two, and I will certainly, just to see where we are, but most likely I'll probably play at 60 because it'll, I assume, just look really good there, but I will turn on 120 just to see how that feels when you're rolling through, slashing everybody in front of you. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with Nintendo and the price increase on the Switch 1. It was a strange thing when they announced it, because it's like last generation, which you would assume would go down in price, especially as they're discontinued and Nintendo moves on to the Switch 2 and people are selling off their old systems and it just kind of floods the market. Price usually goes down. No, we went the opposite direction, where the Switch OLED brand new was $400. Again, strange times. This all went into effect just over a week ago at all major retailers. All right, Nintendo told us 2 days in advance before it happened. So when people started to notice that retailers weren't necessarily following along with Nintendo's lead, there have been a lot of questions here. So let's take a look at a couple of retailers. We'll start here. This is with Walmart, and yeah, they have not only kept the pricing there, but they've discounted it. Yeah, in fact, some of the Switch OLEDs you can see are not $350, they're $300, which, yeah, kind of strange to see that pop up, because then you look over at Best Buy and they've just kept the pricing the same. So if you look at a Switch OLED, it's $350, the red box Switch is $300, the Switch Lite is $200. All these, by the way, in my area are just ready for pickup immediately, so they have them in stock. Over at Target, though, I noticed they don't seem to really care. They just went ahead and put in place the new price points, starting with the Switch OLED at $400, the Switch Lite at $230, and then you have the red box Switch right at like that $340 mark. So what's going on here? That's the question. Some are thinking that retailers are just pushing back on Nintendo, like, nah, we're not raising prices. Too bad. We're gonna discount it just to spite them. And so in a roundabout way, you could say some of these retailers could be pushing back on Nintendo. I think in this case, though, they do see the writing on the wall in that the Switch 1 is on its way out. We've seen the sales data come back from their most recent quarter with Nintendo. It didn't sell 1 million units in a quarter. For the Switch 1 generation, that's not common, but obviously the Switch 2 is on the market, and I mean, really, if you see the price, even at $350, would you rather save an extra $100 if you're dead set on getting a Nintendo system maybe for the holidays? Would you rather save an extra $100, get the Switch 2 at $450 and set yourself up for the next, as we saw with the Switch 1, 7 to 8 years, or buy into a system that, I mean, it plays the same games then? The Switch 2 can play the entire library of the Switch 1 and then all the new games. Would you rather buy into a $350 to $400 Switch 1 and basically be at end of life specifically for the console itself, as again, the games will play fine on the Switch 2. So if you're a retailer with a bunch of stock, you might be going, you know what? Let's just see if we can move through some of this, especially ahead of the holidays, as there are now reports coming out that some of the partners and manufacturers working with Nintendo for, as example, the optical sensors for the mouse functionality in either Joy-Con are expecting more sales, essentially, of their parts. So they are raising their forecast because it appears that Nintendo behind the scenes is raising production for the Switch 2. And it's not shocking at all, because I'll go to Walmart again, did it the other day, and look in the glass, there are 2 Switch 2 systems, and they've just been cycling through them without too much issue. And I keep seeing other people put out online that it's easy to find a Switch 2. And it does seem that Nintendo is just constantly trying to cycle more and more systems in. And the thing that I think people have forgotten about, because the way Nintendo is doing their launches now, we haven't gone to the holiday season yet. Nintendo's been selling as many systems as they have during the summer. And that's not typical for a game system to sell at this sort of velocity in what people would consider kind of the off months for a year, where a lot of people are spending time instead vacationing or on trips or stuff. No, when we get to the holiday season, starting up even in September, when holiday shopping starts to at least pick up a bit, that's when you'll see the Switch 2 start to sell even more. And that going along with that Pokemon bundle, yes, retailers, I think for the most part, working to clear out some of their stock, except for Target, because they just don't really seem to care. I mean, did you try ordering a Switch 2 from Target when it went live during midnight? It was disastrous, although they all kind of were, but I'd say out of all the major retailers, Target was probably the worst one. So maybe they just don't really care as much about gaming stuff compared to Walmart or Best Buy, who clearly have a strategy here. But I think it's as straightforward as that. They're not necessarily losing money if they sell it at $350, because this is all, I assume, stock they have in the back room. And rather than try to profit an extra $40 to $50, let's try to move through the stock and then bring in Switch 2 systems getting ready for the holiday. Next up, let's talk about Battlefield 6, as it is off to a fast start. Remember, it's coming out in October, but ahead of that launch, it seems that EA wants to try out some of these open betas, closed betas as well, really as like early access stuff, but really over the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, you were able to just download and then log into the game, and they had queues that were going on, so you'd have to wait, and I was sitting there watching. At one point, trying to get in, I was 12,000 in line. So there were a lot of people playing, and it's reflected completely over on SteamDB, which you can see hit a high concurrent player count of 521,079 players. That's only on Steam. Keep in mind, I mean, it's also through what EA's own storefront, I guess, but the vast majority are either on Steam, PlayStation, or Xbox. Yeah, I have a feeling they had a ton of people trying this game out here. And it's a free beta, so you could have just downloaded, jumped in, and it'll be more interesting to see how it does when they start asking $70 for this sort of experience. Now, over on their official account, they do say this is Battlefield's biggest open beta ever. Peak time is approaching and queues will be expected. We're working on entry times to the game, but appreciate your patience as you wait for your time to arrive. And all of this is compounding on, of course, the return of Battlefield versus Call of Duty. And it has been a while since we've even brought that up as a possibility. I think even with Battlefield 2042, while it looked kind of cool with some of the weather systems and stuff, Call of Duty was just rolling. It was going to be very difficult for Battlefield to show up and even have a chance to dethrone it. But now people are wondering, wait a minute, is this finally it? Could Call of Duty falter with Black Ops 7 and Battlefield 6 could actually pull some market share away from it? I think there are some key factors here. One, they have to launch in a good state, and the game has to be functional, which that's why we're having, I assume, these beta weekends, which there's another one next weekend. But two, they need some sort of free-to-play mode, and it appears they're doing that with their own Battle Royale style. Well, there's something else that's been going around, and this we can see is posted by Insider Gaming, where they say, speaking with sources who wish to remain anonymous because they were not authorized to talk about Activision's internal conversations, it's been said that although Activision is keeping a close eye on Battlefield, they are not worried about the game out-competing its flagship franchise. It's said that Activision leadership believes that Call of Duty is too big to fail and will remain a profitable annually released franchise for many years to come. At the time of writing, an annual Call of Duty title is penciled in for the next 4 years at least. And here's the thing, I don't think Battlefield's going to show up and all of a sudden everyone's going to stop playing Call of Duty. But like the way that is at least framed, yeah, that does seem like that overconfident Activision to where maybe Battlefield could surprise them. And they don't have to just take them out all in one shot. Remember, Call of Duty has been building for years and years, and decades at this point, to get here. Battlefield is also one that has that storied history, but it's faltered quite a bit throughout the several entries now. If they can just get back to what made Battlefield Battlefield, yeah, they'd have a fighting chance. And from what I'm seeing online and my time with the game, this feels like a Battlefield game, more so than we've had in quite a while. And it's just downright fun. So I'm more interested to see what they have for us when we get to launch, when it comes to number of weapons, some of the class stuff they've been going over, this Battle Royale mode, the campaign. Still a lot of questions with this game, but so far so good. Will it stand up to Call of Duty? I guess we'll find out this holiday. Next up, let's talk about Amazon Prime Gaming. So if you have Amazon Prime, any of the games that we'll go over here very quickly, you can just get a code for GOG on your PC and just start playing it, or at least just put it in your back catalog of games that I'm sure continues to stack up quite a bit on PC. But we can see this posted up. This is over on VGC. Now, games that are available right now, this is for August 2025 with Amazon Prime Gaming. Sid Meier's Civilization 3 Complete. Thief Definitive Edition. It's been a while since I played Thief, but seeing that on GOG, I think that's a code I'm definitely grabbing right away. And then The Academy, The First Riddle. That one is on Amazon Games app. Moving to August 14th, we have Fate, the Traitor Soul, Filthy Animals Heist Simulator. That one is on Epic Game Store. Tin Hearts, we have Necro King. Moving to August 21st, we have Labyrinth City, and then Silver Box Classics. And moving to August 28th, we have Heroes of Loot 2, and Fantasy Empires, and City Legends, The Ghost of Misty Hill Collector's Edition. That one says it's on Legacy Games, but again, I just wanted to bring these up. Anytime I see either deals with things like the Humble Bundle stuff through Humble Games, or when I see something like this where it's lesser known or people don't even realize it and they have Amazon Prime and there's just a bunch of games that go unclaimed, might as well at least bring it up here for a minute or two. So if you're interested in something even like Civ 3, you can just go ahead, grab the code. You already paid for the subscription if you have Amazon Prime, and just redeem it, or even screenshot it and just leave it for later for when you go to GOG next. You can just go ahead and claim it and put it in your library. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about a Sega Dreamcast port. It's still fun to get news around Sega's last console from 1999, still getting stuff moved over to it by the community. And here, I mean, it looks like it wants to celebrate the 40th anniversary of Mario because, well, it's Mario Kart 64. We can see this posted. This is by Time Extension, where they say J.N. Martin's unofficial Dreamcast port of Mario Kart 64 is now available to play. There is a video that Video Game Esoterica posted which shows it in action, and it looks pretty impressive. Frame rate looks good, visuals look sharp, well, as sharp as you can expect from Mario Kart 64 now, but still, I think just in general, moving this over is really cool. We had that recent decompilation of Mario Kart 64, which has enabled some of this stuff, and here's the thing, people are going to wonder, well, is Nintendo going to pull this down? I mean, there's not much they can really do because this person, J.N. Martin, they're not distributing any of the assets or copyright material from Nintendo, as you do have to provide all of that yourself through way of a Mario Kart 64 ROM. They just sort of have the stuff that would then compile and put it together here for the Dreamcast. And yes, it does work on real hardware. In fact, there were a few people, I saw one posted over on Twitter X where they had the VMU and it looked like Luigi. There's a little portrait of Luigi there when you're driving around, which is, it's always fun when they go like the little extra mile to also incorporate the Dreamcast VMU in some of these ports, because that was something that made the system super unique, having a little screen, little tiny screen. It didn't always do much. Sometimes it was the logo of the game you were playing, or I guess a portrait. Other times that you could see your ammo there. You could pick out your play for like NFL 2K so that the person next to you couldn't necessarily see it just on the screen. So there were some cool ideas and uses for it, but still just wanted to bring this to your attention in case you have the ability to play it on a Dreamcast. It's certainly looks strange now looking back on it. It's like, here we are in 2025, more than 2 decades after the Dreamcast came out, and Mario Kart 64 is now playable on it. And before we go to the comments of the day, we'll take a look at the poll that I posted up yesterday, where I ask, are you picking up Drag X Drive? Okay, 94% say no. 6% say yes. I tried they did the online playtest or whatever for it. It was a couple of hours at a time. I did log in and try it. They have you do a tutorial for it, and then you could play a few rounds, I guess. It was 3-on-3. And it wasn't great after 10 minutes. The controls themselves just are not great, I feel like. Maybe in their mind, Nintendo's mind is like, this is really cool. And I get the idea of it being kind of a tech demo. I don't necessarily know if it's a tech demo that can stand up on its own. So I think what Nintendo could have done, now looking back on it, with the launch of the Switch 2, is had almost a compilation, sort of like Wii Sports, but this would have been one of those games. You get Wii Sports, you get boxing, you get golf, you get tennis, bowling, Drag X Drive. It's kind of like that. It feels like a mini game out of one of those compilations that would have come with the system. But instead, Drag X Drive is $20, and I don't know how many people are really pushing for this thing, especially some were trying it out on their jeans. There are images that were floating around on places like Reddit where it turned the top buttons when you'd have like single Joy-Con play blue because the jeans were blue. So who knows with Drag X Drive. I just feel like this is a game that's going to come and go. Like they'll release it, people will see it, be like, okay, and they'll just kind of move on to the next thing. And we'll finish up with the comments of the day as you're seeing here. This is from Nintendex 2 Dope. Okay, saying, Spawnwave, you really expect Sony to sell 40 million systems with GTA 6 to overtake PS4? I find that insane. What is your estimated time for this to happen? Surely not next year. 30 to 40 million in a year would be crazy for a 5 to 6 year old PlayStation 5. So now what I mean here is the current pace, the PS5 is about 2 million systems behind the PS4 when you launch and line them. What I think is going to happen with GTA 6 is it will bump up PS5 sales in terms of, we'll say, sales velocity throughout next year, to where it will overtake the rate of PS4 sales when you launch and line them. I do think the PS5 now will end up outselling the PS4, because I think the PS5 is still going to sell for quite a while. Like, I think that's going to be a long cross generation between PS6 and PS5. And I think when it's all said and done, the PS4 is 117, 118 million. I think the PS5 will probably end up right around 125 million, which is impressive for the system, considering it's selling at $450 to $500, whereas the PS4 was selling at $300 and $400. And the $300 didn't even come about until the Slim model launched in 2016. So yeah, I think GTA 6 is going to give the PS5 the much needed bump to jump ahead of the PS4. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today. If you missed last week's Newswave, I'll leave it up here in a card. Or maybe you've always been interested in hacking your Xbox 360 and running homebrew on it. Well, now it's incredibly easy. So much so that you just need a flash drive, and I did an entire video discussing how exactly that works in a video over the weekend. I'll leave that right below it. Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.